Keith Thurman says everybody beats that version of Errol Spence, not just Terence Bud Crawford. What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Cardinal Red Sports. Let's talk about it. Alright, y'all. So, Keith One Time Thurman recently had some things to say about the Errol Spence Terence Crawford fight, his future in the sport of boxing, and why he feels like everybody would have beaten that version of Errol Spence. I just wanted to give my 1,000 nickels on what One Time had to say and break it down for anybody listening.
What up, world? Y'all already know it's your boy One Time. We out here, baby, from downtown St. Petersburg out to Clearwater Bridge. We're going down to the beach. We got a beautiful ride, man. Got that drip. Take a little break, tune in, say what up to you people. I'm about to get back on the road, man. Hope y'all have had a glorious, beautiful, wonderful Monday.
All right, y'all. So, Keith Thurman, man. Keith Thurman. What a character. Been out of the sport of boxing, for a while now. He's had one recent fight, which was the Mario Barrios fight. He dominated that fight, and he feels like he's back. But the thing about it to me is, a lot of these fighters nowadays, they do a lot more talking than they actually do fighting.
Ano? Oh, Paul. Pakita ko pang Paul. Saan bola? Oh, sayang bola. Sayo. Wala ka rin tigo, no?
So, it seems like pretty much everybody from the past 5 years of boxing with a pretty big name, the Danny Garcias, the Keith Thurmans, the Adrian Broners. Seems like all these guys are semi-retired, but they still want to talk about being in the spotlight, but they don't want to actually take the fights that will put them in the spotlight.
Big Bro just told me, this camp, we working, so I guess Floyd catching these hands this camp.
Yeah, I don't mind working with nobody. I definitely want to work with you.
Dude, we gonna make it happen.
It seems like they do a lot more talking about the current guys that are in the spotlight than they actually do trying to challenge these people. And it's kind of funny in a way. It's kind of sad as a boxing fan, because I actually want to see all these good fights get put together. This is the reason that I kind of ride Terence Crawford a little bit. I think a lot more people want me and other content creators to just give Crawford his credit. Listen, I give him credit for beating Errol Spence. He won the fight. Nobody can deny that he won the fight. But sometimes it's how you win fights. Sometimes it's how you put fights together that determine the outcome of a fight.
When they brought you in here, you was crying like a pussy.
Yeah.
Because as when the cops fell, he threw tear gas in my face. And that's the kind of shit they use on crowds.
You beating up on a man, you putting a man in the hospital, how come I don't see no marks on you?
Yeah.
Because I'm a karate man, all right? Karate man bruised on the inside. They don't show their weaknesses. You don't know that because you're a big Barry White looking motherfucker.
And this is the reason I never was a Floyd Mayweather fan. I'll put it this way. This is the reason I never was a Money Mayweather fan. I did like Pretty Boy Floyd. Pretty Boy Floyd was a hell of a fighter. And once he stopped using the Pretty Boy Floyd moniker, or he stopped going as Pretty Boy Floyd, it seemed like his whole style changed. Now, I do believe that there were some things that happened to Floyd that forced him to have to change up the way he fought. Some people say he hurt himself and other stuff happened. But once he did change up that style and became more just about the dollar signs than actual entertaining, then it became a situation of, I don't really rock with this guy anymore. I don't really like the new personality that he's pushing.
And I've just never been that guy to wait for somebody to tell me that someone's good, for me to believe in myself. If I think someone's good, then they must be good, because I know I have good taste.
And it's kind of the same way for Bud. It's like, you can't deny his talent level, but the way he carries himself, the way he lies to the public, the way he says he wants a fight, but then turns around and never signs off on contracts or tries to move the goalposts here and there and everywhere. and then tries to make it seem like everybody else is avoiding him. This is the reason I don't rock with Bud. And, Keith Thurman, not to say that he doesn't take challenges, but Keith Thurman's one of those type of guys, I think, especially after the Pacquiao loss, to where he feels like he can talk his way into a fight and not actually just go out and fight top competitions to get himself back among the upper echelon of fighters.
You gotta show up! When is you gonna start showing up? When is you gonna stop pointing the fingers? When you gonna stop being a victim? We understand the new victim game. Oh, it's a really proper game. When is you gonna show up? You gotta show up to the next level. You gotta stop. Oh, I just wanna be safe. I wanna play it safe. I don't wanna be me. I wanna act like everybody else. How you think I got in? I was being me. I ain't care about what nobody else is doing.
Because after that Pacquiao fight, it was a lot of talk about him being the next guy up. Once he beat Pacquiao, that was really going to solidify him as the next guy up. But once he got beat and got exposed, basically, he started just talking about fighting great fighters and not actually fighting great fighters. And, the difference between him and Errol Spence to me is that Errol Spence, he's about that action. He might have lost to his biggest rival, Terence Crawford, but none of those other fights that he said that he would take and that he took, he didn't actually put stipulations in the way. He didn't say, well, you got to give me this much money, or I'm not going to fight you, or we have to fight over her, or I'm not making the fight, or I got to wear these. There were no excuses. He was like, hey, I want to fight the best guys. I don't need tune-ups. And he made those fights happen. He didn't have to play everything out in that order. He could have done a lot of capping because he was the 3-time welterweight champion of the world. He did fight 3 champions to become the best fighter out there.
So even when I first started to work with Jay-Z, being that he was from Brooklyn, I was from Harlem, they was teasing him every day. Everyone told me he wasn't good. You have to remember, I shot Jay-Z to every A&R in the business. Kevin Liles, Rick Rubin, all of them said no. Who can be looked at as the best rapper of all time. Everyone in the traditional program said no because they knew he would take over. So what it tells me is to be an individual, to be first, to stand behind unapologetically. If I like something, don't let anybody tell me that I shouldn't like it because they don't.
So he could have definitely put a lot of stipulations in front of a lot of these fights that would have made those fights not actually happen. And, when it comes to the Terence Crawford fight, he made that fight. So whether or not he came into the fight weight drained, whether or not, that version of Errol Spence wasn't the best version of Errol Spence, he made those fights happen. And I don't think for one second that Keith Thurman could beat that version of Errol Spence because, he beat Mario Barrios was his last fight. Mario Barrios is moving up in weight, and everybody expected him to beat Mario Barrios. But he's been so inactive, I can't really say he would beat any other top talent because we haven't seen him fighting any top talent at 147 or beyond. 154, he's only fought Mario Barrios since the Manny Pacquiao fight, and that was almost 4 or 5 years ago now. So I don't think that Keith Thurman could have beaten him. I think maybe some other guys of today who are top talents like Boots, they would have seriously taken advantage of a weight drain. Errol Spence, Terence Crawford took advantage of a weight drain to Errol Spence. Manny Pacquiao would have most likely beaten him in that situation. Keith Thurman, he's been so inactive. I'm not going to say that he would have beat Errol Spence in that fight. I think it would have been a knockdown, drag-out fight between both of those guys, but I actually think Spence would have most likely came out on top. Now, should Errol Spence actually rematch him at 147, or should he, try to force the 154 fight? I think Spence can beat him at 147. I think Spence has to be the best version of himself at 147 to win. But I think he can win. But it's going to be a question of how you prepare. Did you prepare correctly? Did you have the right strength and conditioning coaches? Did you diet down? correctly? Did you do everything correctly? Because we saw what happens when one thing goes wrong for a top fighter. You take a loss.
So like an artist, you buy a Basquiat after everybody else bought one. To me, you and Johnny. It's to discover Basquiat before everyone discovers. That's the art, not to be able to pay for it after everyone else paid for it. So I just look at it as being fearless, not being embarrassed.
And that shouldn't be the end of your career, but we are in the Mayweather age of boxing to where one loss could actually end your entire career and get you drugged completely through the mud. Luckily for Errol Spence, he was such a high caliber fighter, and he has taken on all of this high caliber competition to where I don't think it's going to completely kill his name, because he has one of the biggest fan bases in boxing, and the fans really respect him for what he's done as a fighter and collecting the titles the way he collected the titles. If that was Terence Crawford, on the other hand, and he has basically fought B-level competition his whole career, if he would have gotten beat by a A-level fighter in that fashion, it would have completely derailed his entire career. Just one loss. And I don't think that's fair, but once again, this is the state of boxing that we're in at the moment, and it's going to take some special fighters out there. I'm hoping Boots will be the future. I'm hoping Errol Spence can redeem himself. Perhaps Terence Crawford can stop making so many excuses and trying to move the goalposts all the time and just start making good fights for fans to watch. And we can change the way boxing is. And, perhaps we got to do a little bit more of what B-Hop said and try to get more regulatory agencies to take over the sport. It can't just be one entity controlling everything. And perhaps we can change the sport. But until then, I don't think anything's going to change. And the one thing I do know that don't need to change is that Errol Spence doesn't need to change the way he went about things before the loss. He needs to keep doing what he was doing. Just be a little bit more cautious of how you go about losing your weight. And Keith Thurman can't beat nobody. He's bum time.
Regulation. It has to be regulated where it be a bigger power than the powers that govern themselves. In boxing right now, the people that govern themselves is the same people that can go against their own rules that they make. So basically, you got the fox watching the chicken.
We get 3% to the organizations. I mean, we gotta know where this money going to. Man, you got Canelo and Josh and all these guys, making $50 million, and these belts are getting 3% of it. Where's it going to?
Regulations. You need a union. Boxing right now has always been in business, even though we're in 2023, a red light district. And it's corrupt in the way of what? Let me tell you how it's corrupt. It's not corrupt where the old mob days. Somebody come in, they got an envelope. There's none of that going on. It's corrupt by association.
And these belts are getting 3% of it. Where's it going to?
It's corrupt when I know who your fighter is with, you know who my fighter is with, but who got the stronger ties with that particular people.
And these belts are getting 3% of it. Where's it going to?
Which they are, could be sanctioning bodies.
Y'all let me know what y'all think about all that down in the comment section below. Hit that like button for me. Share. Subscribe. Holler at me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. But you are more than likely to get a response on the tube, so holler at me over there. If you want to collabo, feature a product or your channel or my channel, feel free to hit my Gmail, because it is a flag of cards at gmail.com. And we are
now who you know better? Dolce & Gabbana umbrella, keep the weather off the leather. Life's a bitch, and I'm sure you let her. She try and hold me down, but you know I wouldn't let her. I go so cold, drove in the joke. Hoes in the car, getting low off the bars. Wake up, bitch, I'll show you where it is. 502, let me show you where I live. Wake up, bitch. They sleeping on the field. Freak up in them heels, getting freaky off the pill. I told that bitch I been that nigga. I been that spit. I been had hooks like Lou Ware Cinder. I'm killing all them boys going dirty. It's your boy Keys, player, this is my year. Hey, they got the good rockin' front to back. Ain't gonna be no hating shit around here. Hey. Is that for us? Is that for us? Is that for us? I fucks with it. I fucks with it. Is that for us? Is that for us? I fucks with it. I'm doing it, moving it, proving it. Come through with it, go ahead, move it, bitch. Young Lewis is way too cool with it. I keep a chicken in the bird like ludicrous. I got a stupid clique, hooligans, bruise your shit. Not the type of cat you wanna get into it with. Keep running your mouth, I'ma put a shoe in it. Won't stop till I'm super rich, nigga, you's a bitch. And I'm the best thing left, man. Wet game, leave your dame with a sweat stain. So niggas wanna start shit when I'm riding with they bird like none of part 6. You know them boys gon' dirty. It's your boy Keys, player, this is my year. Hey, we got the club rockin' front to back. Ain't gon' be no hating shit around here.